I'm ready. Should I? Cristina, are you ready?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today in our Illuminate speaker sessions. Today, I have the pleasure to introduce Dr. Cristina Perdomo Delgado. Dr. Cristina is a Spanish occupational therapist and a PhD student in design assistive technology in the Paulista State University in Brazil. Founded for the Ibero-American Postgraduate University Association, she is the creator of the MeCuido application and the author of a number of international articles related to occupational therapy and assistive technologies. Her areas of interest include assistive technologies, accessibility, telerehabilitation, the elderly, and quality of life. Today, Dr. Cristina will talk about design and use of a remote care application for elderly people. Welcome, Dr. Cristina. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Diana. Good morning. It is my pleasure to participate in this presentation. Thank you very much for the opportunity. The University of Manitoba campus are located original lands on Anishinaabe, Creek, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene people, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. We repeat the treaties that were made of this territory. We acknowledge the harm and mistake of the past, and we dedicate obviously to move forward in friendship with indigenous communities in experience on reconciliation and collaboration. I am Cristina Perdomo, I'm a Spanish occupational therapist. I study occupational therapy at the University of Salamanca, Spain, and I am currently in a doctoral study at the Sao Paulo State University in Brazil. My research areas are related to assistive technology, accessibility, the elderly, and independent living. Older people more often express the desire to continue living at home. Although due to the various limitations, their present state of autonomy and independence in overriding their daily activities, in most cases, they will need care from distance. Telecare is a comprehensive care service that offers resources and tools to improve the quality of life and promote the independence of the elderly. However, there is little variety of telecare applications for a smartphone, and there are limited knowledge about the use of remote care application, telecare, for the elderly. The objective of the study were to develop a remote care application for the smartphone, MeCuido, and to determine the usability of the telecare application in other adults living alone. The study methods are design and development of the application, MeCuido, and usability tests, systematic usability scaling, and semi-structured interview. 20 people over the age of 50 participate in the study. I was divided into two groups of participants of 10 people, a group that knew about telecare and a group that didn't know about telecare. The usability tests were carried out remotely using Google Meet due to the current situation of coronavirus. Participants were told that they had to download the application in a carry person use mode and proceeded to perform a series of tasks related to each function of the application. Once the iteration with the application was finished, the participant completed the systematic usability scaling by means of a remote questionnaire. After completing the usability scale, participants participate in a video recording semi-structured interview to provide suggestions and comments in order to improve the development of the MeCuido application. All procedures were approved by the Ethics and Research Committee for the Brazil platform, and all participants assisted writing informed consent before participating. The result: the telecare application MeCuido was developed on Android for a smartphone. The system has a single application. However, it has two different modes, one for the elderly and the other for the family member of caregiver. When you download the application to your cell phone, it presents a home screen that allows you to choose the mode in which you want to use the application. MeCuido for the use person. It has the objective of maintaining the well-being and quality of life of the person in the home and in their environment, allowing them to maintain care at a distance. A simple design stands out with the main function of emergency button, medication warning, locator, cell phone battery control, and chat with the referent family member. MeCuido for the family. The objective is to monitor the activity of the elderly person. For example, if the use of the application is low on battery and the family member sees that it hasn't yet been charged, they can make a phone call to remind them. Another example could be the record of taking medication. If the family member doesn't have an alert from the application, then their family member has taken the medication. They could notify their family member to take it. MeCuido has no relational real-time database. Due to the great versatility is often faced with changes in the structure of the data that's in recording and in terms of size. The tool that has been used for the development of the database has been Firebase. Firebase is a Google platform that allows us to have a new relational database in the cloud and in real time. The Firebase database allows the use of rules that restrict access to data. For example, data deletion is only allowed for the application OSA from Firebase. Firebase complies with the General Data Protection Regulation and is also certified by the main security and privacy standards. You can only access the person data of the user of the application if you have logged in with the Google account, being the account of the designer as the programmer of the application. For the programming of the application, I've had the help of an expert programmer. Below, I present a demonstrative video of the application MeCuido.
Hello, I am Frank, and she is my mother Amanda. My mother is 75 years old, who lives alone at home. My mother likes to go for walks with her friends, shop at the supermarket, and lead an independent life. I like that my mother lives independently, but I worry because she lives alone and may need help. That is why we need a tele-assistance service for the smartphone. Telecare is an application on the smartphone. It's a remote care service if my mother needs help. She only needs to make a click, and the application sent an urgent message to my smartphone. The following is the telecare application called MeCuido. The application has several functions for people who live alone. A locator function, if the person needs help, he just needs to make a click on the button and an urgency message is sent to his family. It also has a function to remember the battery level of the elderly person's smartphone, sending a message to both the elderly person and their family. The locator function consists of the family knowing where their relative lives when they leave home, in situations of disorientation and memory difficulties. The medication notification function, the application will send a message to remind the elderly person and their family member to take their medication for greater control. And a chat function between the elderly person and their family, only with an audio system, so that there is no problem in people who have difficulties with fine motor skills. The application will have information on the blood group, address, pathologies, and allergies of the elderly person in case they are lost. The application has been registered in the innovation area of the government of Brazil, together with the Paulista State University.
The analysis results. In quantitative analysis, he has been carried out with the usability scale, highlighting that the group with experience and the group without experience in telecare had a high usability score. In qualitative analysis, it is related to the interview related to use of the application. According to the analysis, it highlighted that the no-experienced groups take into account two areas of usability: perceived ease of use and perceived usefulness. However, the group of experienced participants in the interview highlight the usability areas of perceived ease of use, perceived usefulness, and expectation of use. The results show that the new experience group take into account there is a usefulness of use of the assistant of the application. However, the experience groups consider that not only the easy and usefulness of use are important, they're highly the expectation of use as the main element for the acceptance of technology. In conclusion, through an interactive method design, a remote care application for elderly people live alone is developed and tested. High AUS score that indicate high usability stand out. Therefore, it is determined that remote care application has the potential to be used by other adults with or without experience in the use of telecare technologies, always keeping in mind that the elderly person wants to live an independent life at home. Future research with the application is related to usability in the Brazilian population and the Spanish population. Both analyze not only architecture of the system with the card sorting method, but also user satisfaction with the interaction of the application with the questionnaire for user interaction satisfaction. It should be noted that before designing the application, a study was carried out of the perception of the use of the new technology related to telecare with the Brazilian population. The favorable data was considered in the design of the application, thinking that not only older people can benefit from it, but also people who live in places far from the city and services. Thank you so much. I hope you liked.
Thank you very much, Cristina, for
Thank
your
you.
very interesting presentations. So before we move to the Q&A session, I would like to invite all the participants to please complete this brief survey about potential interest topics for the future Illuminate speakers. It's only 3 questions, so we really appreciate your collaboration. You can either scan the code or you can use the link that Leanne just has posted on the chat box.
Okay.
And now we have some time allocated for questions. So you could please like to unmute yourself and ask questions to Cristina, or maybe type the questions in the chat. Well, while you think about questions, I have one. Cristina, I would like to know about the cost of this application. Is it free for the users, or they have to pay a subscription, or how that works?
The application is free for people.
So how do you cover the expenses of, I assume that you may have to pay for the platform use for Google, or is that free too? The storage data.
I will be free for everyone, the people. And the application is only the Google platform. Is the free.
Okay, so it's free. Good. Thank you. Archie has a question. She said, when you designed the app, did you consult with older adults about the features that they consider most important to them?
Yes. I considered the element for the fine motor, visual, color, sizes, the element for the application. All for elderly people. The design for the application is all for the elderly people.
Thank you. So you consider the form, the color, the size, the figures, right? Did you also consider or consult on the content or the features?
On the content, the early people, the early people in Brazil participated in the designing the application. I show it the designer. The designer showed in the elderly people. And older people chose the designer, the application, interface, element and core. Perdón, Diana, esa era la pregunta, ¿verdad?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. There are more questions? Yeah. Si necesitas ayuda con la traducción, you can ask me.
Okay, thank you, Diana.
So there, Pam comment says, thank you for an interesting presentation. I was curious about what are your next steps. ¿Cuáles crees que son los siguientes pasos en tu investigación?
The future research with the application related to usability in the Brazilian population and the Spanish population. I would like the participant, the elderly people from the in the architecture of the system with the card sorting method, the designer, the application.
Anything else you want to say? You can try in Spanish and I can translate for you if you feel more comfortable.
Yes, thank you, Diana.
Any other questions? Archie, go ahead, please.
I have another question. How did COVID impact your research, or did it?
Hi, Juliet. Diana, ¿me puedes ayudar?
Ella quiere saber cómo el COVID impactó tu investigación o si no la impactó.
¿Puedo hablar en español?
Sí.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Despacio para que yo pueda traducir cada frase, ¿ok?
Ok. El COVID impactó mucho la investigación.
The COVID have a big impact on my research.
Porque era una investigación práctica con las personas mayores en Brasil y en España.
Because it was a practical research with people in Brazil and Spain.
Las personas participaban en el diseño de mi diseño, en el diseño del aplicativo.
The people were participating in the design of my project or the application.
Y debido al coronavirus, todo fue en base online. Y
And
no toda, sí.
And due to COVID, everything have to switch online.
Y no todas las personas de Brasil tienen acceso a internet o a recursos de videoconferencias o videollamadas.
And not everyone in Brazil have access to online resources.
Yo ahora mismo estoy en España, trabajo en un sector sanitario, es mucho más fácil encontrar gente que participe en mi investigación, pero en Brasil fue complicado.
And I'm currently in Spain and working in healthcare, and it's easier to find participants, but it was more difficult in Brazil.
Entonces, insistir. En vez de estar 3 meses trabajando, estuve 6.
So she have to be persistent because instead of taking 3 months, it took 6.
Porque para mí lo principal era que participaran las personas de Brasil, porque son las que necesitan un servicio de teleasistencia, porque realmente aquí en España tenemos mucho, allí no existe ninguno.
Because my main goal for me was to get participation from people from Brazil, because they are the ones who really are needing this online service. We have a lot of those services here in Spain.
Thank you, Diana.
You're welcome. There are any other questions?
I have another one.
Go ahead, Archie.
Notice the features on the app, or the things that people can access. They can access information about medication and the battery and
Locator.
and the locator, which are all really important. I think the people who had experience with technology also mentioned ability to hook up with other people. And I'm wondering if there's any, if you're contemplating that for the next iteration.
Diana, ¿me puedes traducir lo último solo?
Que ella se pregunta si una de las características que las personas mencionó importante es la posibilidad de contactar con otras personas. Que si estás considerando incorporar esa feature en la siguiente versión de tu app.
El contacto con las personas. Yes, Juliet. El segundo diseño, renovación de la aplicación, está enfocado en añadir contactos con otras personas mayores que vivan solas, para que estén contactados, aunque vivan en otras ciudades, pues puedan compartir sus experiencias de vivir solos y de llevar su vida independiente. Incluso fue una de las funciones que en una de las entrevistas me pidió varios participantes de aquí de España.
Yes, and the next feature will contemplate the next version will contemplate the future that would allow people who live alone to get in contact with each other. In fact, it was a feature that was recommended by one of the participants of the study. There any other questions?
Just going to go back.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cristina, for the presentation and the
Thank you, Jackie.
introduction to your app. I'm going to go back. Pam had asked a question about next steps. And I know you started to talk about, I think you said card sort, and maybe you wanted to say more, but needed some translation. So I don't know if you want to say more about what you see as the next steps, and then maybe Diana can help us with the translation. So was it a card sort with whom, and how would that look? What would that look like? So
Okay.
feel free to say it in Spanish, and hopefully Diana can help us.
¿Entendiste?
Entendí lo de la traducción, ¿no? De la aplicación.
Ya, no, que si quieres elaborar un poco más acerca de cuáles son los siguientes pasos en tu investigación, que de pronto quieras elaborar un poco más y lo puedes decir en español despacio y yo te lo ayudo a traducir.
Vale. Los siguientes pasos de mi investigación estarán enfocados a introducir la aplicación en otros contextos, en otros países.
The next step of my research will be to introduce the application in a different context and countries.
Yes. A mí lo que me interesa es analizar la usabilidad de diferentes tipos de poblaciones.
She would like to use the usability of the app in different populations.
Porque no todos presentan pues las mismas características de usabilidad y es una cosa que nunca se estudia, la usabilidad de una tecnología de asistencia.
Not all of them are used or studied in different contexts, and usability is something that is not often studied.
Entonces mi idea es ir a otro país, tener la oportunidad de investigar en otro país y poder introducir esa aplicación de teleasistencia con diferentes grupos de población.
My idea is to go to a different country and have the opportunity to introduce my application with, to try or test the application.
Por ejemplo, llevar un estudio más profundizado en el aprendizaje del uso de la tecnología.
To do a more comprehensive or deep study in the learning of the use of this technology.
Por ejemplo, tengo unos contactos en Chile que me han comentado de poder introducir la tecnología y hacer una prueba de usabilidad con personas que viven en entornos menos favorables y en comparación con las personas que viven en entornos más favorables.
For example, I have some contacts in Chile who has proposed me to try the technology in two different contexts. One, people with less favorable conditions, and another group with people with better conditions. ¿De socioeconómicas, condiciones socioeconómicas?
Sí, me contratarían. La idea es que me contratarían en la universidad.
Okay, they're with different socioeconomical conditions. So she said that it will be done through a university.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. There are any other questions or closing remarks? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much once more, Cristina, for your interesting presentations and for sharing with us your innovative application. Hopefully, you can have a very successful next phase in your research project.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Jackie, for the invitation.
You're very welcome.
Bye.
So now we conclude our Illuminate presentation for today. Thank you very much all for your attendance.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Cristina.
Bye-bye.